So there are some consequences associated with a conviction of a sex crime that we simply can't minimize or dismiss, especially after a conviction. Now, the biggest way that we try to minimize any risk or potential harm to the client is by trying to make sure prior to a plea, prior to a conviction, that we have navigated and negotiated and much to minimize any damages and consequences to our client prior to a plea. We do majority of that is done through plea negotiations, trying to, and it's case by case basis. So sometimes we might be trying to negotiate with a prosecutor rather than try and negotiate how much time someone spends in jail. We might be trying to negotiate whether or not they're a registered sex offender. Or sometimes rather than negotiate whether they're a registered sex offender, we negotiate, probation over prison. Oftentimes we're negotiating both, but we always like to specifically talk to a client, say, hey, and again, this is individually based. So if plea negotiations or getting a plea offer is not in the what the client wants to do, the client's going to trial, then that is what it is. But this is for individuals who were using plea negotiations as part of their strategy. We find out, hey, what is scarier to you? Is scarier to you jail time? Is scarier to you prison time? Is scarier to you registration? Basically, in our negotiation techniques and in our negotiation strategy, we try and minimize that as much as possible. We are also in a very unique situation in that we are right on a state line. And so some of our clients may live in Missouri, but have been charged in Kansas or live in Kansas and charged in Missouri. And we have those conversations about the registration requirements for both states, which state, if able, would be most beneficial for the client to live in, and just making sure that you have an attorney who knows all of those aspects and knows what all of that looks like in order to discuss anything of that nature. But after a conviction, it's very hard to minimize things. So that's what our goal is, to try and minimize any consequences during plea negotiations.